Greetings, and welcome to what is technically the first episode in my all-new movie review series. That's right, I've changed the name. It combines my love of movies with my love of a certain rock band. That's why I've decided to call my new series, Blow Up Your Video! And now for a better pre-written review that isn't just me sitting here babbling in my pajamas. From the waist up, at least. In 1971, still up-and-coming filmmaker George Lucas co-wrote and directed a feature-length adaptation of a short film he made in college called T-H-X-1138. It's your classic run-of-the-mill tale of a dystopian future where Big Brother is always watching, constantly controlling every aspect of society, and 99% of the population is blissfully ignorant to just how oppressed they really are. As usual, our protagonists are the other 1% who actually have fully functioning brains in their skulls. The film stars Robert Duvall as T-H-X-1138. That's right, they give citizens number letter codes for names, like their license plates or something. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking at this point. THX. I've never seen the movie, but I know those initials from somewhere. This is not a coincidence. Kind of. In the 80s, George Lucas worked with Thomas Homan, the creator of the THX sound system, for Return of the Jedi. Now, since his name's Thomas Homan, he wanted to name it something like the Thomas Homan crossover, or the Thomas Homan experiment. Since both of those last words can be related to the letter X in some way or another, he decided to name it THX, which was probably just to kiss George Lucas's butt. But on with the actual film. The movie opens with footage from the old Buck Rogers in the 25th Century serial from the 30s. Personally, I've always preferred
Duck Dodgers in the 24th and a half century.
Then we get a look into the boring and droll life of THX, also called Thax for short. We find that everyone in this place lives underground, are uniformed and bald, and kept on a steady diet of drugs to keep them docile and boring.
All 5 have been undergoing treatment for drug offenses.
Where did you get this car? I was just issued it. I took it for a test drive and ran straight through a crowd at the dispersal center.
Apparently in the future, there's still nothing good on TV. If the doped-up citizens have any concerns, they can speak with the powers that be through a little window in their medicine cabinet. And if they want some advice from the big man upstairs, they have to talk to this talking picture of Jesus they call OMM0910. That's only pre-programmed with like 4 responses. It's the distant future. They couldn't think up more crap for this thing to say? A magic 8-ball's more diverse in conversation than this thing.
I think I'm dying. Could you be more specific?
Anyway, everyone in dystopian future USA is given a roommate, and Thax's roommate is LUH3147. She's one of that 1% I was talking about earlier and doesn't take her medication. Yeah, eventually she develops feelings for Thax. To make him return her feelings, she replaces his meds with empty capsules, kind of like the exact opposite of slipping someone a roofie. Over time, he snaps out of his drug-induced haze and falls madly in love with Lull, and they make sweet, sweet whoopee while the government watches. Think about that the next time you're with your special someone. Or all by yourself with some porn. They dream of running away together, but obviously the government is wise to their sexy, rebellious ways and promptly arrests them both. They lock up Thax in the hyperbolic time chamber from Dragon Ball Z, where the robot police force pokes him with sticks. While the dialogue is supposed to be cold and calculating, offsetting the barbaric nature in which Thax is being treated, I think the actors in the robot suits were having a bit too much fun screwing around with Duvall. After that, Love shows up out of nowhere for some reason, and they have more government-monitored sex. After that, the guards finally show up to take her away for some reason, and Thax tries to fight them off in what can only be described as the weirdest and probably only naked fight scene in cinema history. At this point, I was actually rooting for the guards to subdue him. No one needs to see that, Duvall. He meets up with some more prisoners, most of which are actually kind of crazy and probably need to be locked up, and this annoying preachy anarchist type becomes his friend, though Thax never even approached him or acknowledged his existence. They decide to bust out and promptly wander around aimlessly for a while until they come across this guy who keeps calling himself a hologram. It turns out that he's just a hologram actor for the TV show hologram stuff, but, they never really said that much. I mean, he said he was on the TV, but he kept calling himself a hologram. Hi there, I'm a hologram. I thought he went crazy and actually thought he was a hologram after a while. This made for a more interesting character. Turns out I was wrong, I guess. Now he's just some guy. That's boring as hell. Somehow this guy knows the way out, which is to their left a ways. I guess they never thought to look there? Anyhow, they make it out with no one trying to stop them, and they find the exit, which, from my personal experience, is a high school's hallway in between classes. Except for them having no hair, the similarity really is uncanny. Hit it! After that, the annoying guy gets lost, and then Thax and the hologram happen upon a lab where they find Lul's name on a test tube baby. See, this is another one of those things you just kind of have to guess at unless I missed something. They never actually say that that's a different baby. I mean, I assumed that since it's a sci-fi show, they did something cool, like kill her, but then clone her or something like that. No, they just took her name and stuck it on a baby. Once again, that's much less interesting. After they find out about Lul's demise, the police finally start to put a little effort into trying to catch these guys and pick them off one by one. The annoying guy gets picked off just for standing there in the park like he's not totally an escaped convict, and the hologram gets caught because... he can't drive. Fortunately for Thax, he can drive. I'd also like to point out that apparently everyone in the future drives souped-up race cars. Please let this be the one thing in this movie that actually comes true. And wait a second. What's CGI doing in a movie made in the early 70s?
Damn you, Lucas!
After a pretty cool Albay long car chase that could have stand to lose 5 minutes, Thax hoofs it on the outskirts of the city where he's attacked by mutants of some kind, which are actually just CGI monkeys that were probably originally little people in suits. Or never there in the first place, like that scene in Star Wars with Jabba the Hutt. Notice I didn't say Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. That's because when the movie hit theaters in the 70s and solidified Lucas's career even more so than American Graffiti and THX did combined, it was just called Star Wars! Anyway, after the budget they spend to catch this guy is deemed too high to continue, they let him go. They try to talk him down, saying how much better their world is than what's on the surface, but he's obviously not going to be coerced by the guys that killed his girlfriend. So he makes his way up to the surface where he finds... the closing credits. Huh. All in all, this film was okay. I mean, it wasn't a masterpiece, but that's only because this concept's been done a million times, and will continue to be done a million times in various fashions with various medias until, I don't know, it finally comes true, and we're all overruled by a totalitarian big brother that's constantly watching everything we do and controlling our society. Oh well, at least we all get really cool race cars. Well, that's it for today. Join me next week when I review a movie I've been dying to see. I'm psyched. It's right there. It came in the mail. It's right there. And I'm ready to sit down and watch it. And if you don't know what this movie is, I'm going to tell you, it's a B horror movie that probably has the worst concept for a plot ever for a horror movie. And if you haven't heard of it before, it's called Night of the Lepus. Don't look it up. Don't look it up. Allow me, please, let me have the honor, nay, the privilege, to tell you about this awful, awful film. Okay, fine. Take us away, words.